Hello and welcome to a brand new show here called Developmental. I am your host, JP John Paz, and joining me is my co-host, the hacker himself, Ben Hameen. Ben, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, good to see you, Paz. Good to be back. We've been having a lot of fun collaborating with Two Man Power Trip, and this is something we've been talking about for a little over a month now. And I didn't want it to die on the vine because I've been having a great time co-hosting with you. So yeah, we're gonna talk all about the developmental system for WWE and Impact and probably New Japan and Ring of Honor as well, of what they've done and why it's important. And there's it's where the bonds that really get built that last a lifetime in this business are. So, man, I'm going to add my 2 cents about what I know my time at OVW, but we're going to have great guests, coaches come in to help facilitate and give their opinion on what their time was, because I wasn't in every developmental. I was in a very interesting time in my 3-year window of what happened. Then I can give a firsthand account of it all. But I know you just had the lovely Angelina Love from the Beautiful People on, and I would love to hear her view of Dirty South Wrestling, also very close to you and Two Man Power Trip, Hannibal's view of it. And I've heard some rough stories of hazing and whatnot that went on down there, and there's some legendary ones that are kind of through the industry, and but there's it turned out some great talents. And then OVW, just so many people coming up under Danny and Rip and Al Snow, and just the top performers ever, that class of 2004, why they were so special. I think there's so much to cover, so I'm looking forward to doing this series with you, JP.
So this will be basically a collaboration between the Two Man Power Trip, me and you and the Hameen Media Group.
Yeah.
But Developmental itself really is kind of like the farm system, is the way I always kind of thought of it. And
Sure.
and it's basically the guys in baseball, the farm system or the farm club, they're getting ready for the majors. They might be great, they might be good, but they're kind of getting ready for the quote unquote major leagues, which really, in the crux of it, was WWE for such a long time, because no more WCW, no more ECW, the power plant goes away, and really WWE needed their own developmental. And the Dr. Toms of the world, the Rip Rogers of the world, they became such a big part of really the guys coming up, the John Cena's of the world, the Dave Batistas, the Randy Ortons, the Bobby Lashley's, training these guys and getting them ready. But so I just think developmental is such an interesting thing that it gets talked about a little bit here and there, and you hear some stories, but it's going to be awesome to kind of delve into it from completely different angles. Your angle, then, like you said, Angelina Love can have an angle. Hannibal, maybe, Mike Mondo, Man Beast, right?
Yeah. Yep, Ted McNaylor. I mean, Ted wrote TV there for 10 years, and he started as a referee, which, there's no quicker way to get in the main event if you're a smaller guy than to start as a referee, and to have that knowledge is huge. And that's why he's such a great wrestler, because he started out that way. Been lacing him up for 15 years, wrote TV, done it all promotion-wise. To graphics. So there's, so much knowledge to be shared. And even when FCW, the precursor to NXT, maybe we can get Serena on to talk about her time NXT coaching. And, FCW was an interesting political move as well. And there's a lot of that stuff of like what coaches are around, and, they're going to always find some yes man to pin it on. And I like that Danny Davis got out and is living a beautiful life in Florida in retirement. He's a guy who they couldn't make a mark out of him. So there's all these little intricacies and dramas that where one closes, another opens, and then gets rebranded to the point of NXT. Now I'd forgotten. I mean, I'm obviously don't. Not that I don't remember, but you said the power plant. That's very interesting. I'd like to hear from Kevin Sullivan and on that, dude. I bet he's got plenty of inside info on that, dude.
No doubt. There's some interesting stuff from all over the globe. Talking about HWA, there was IWA for a little bit, there was MCW, there was Power Pro, there was OVW, obviously Deep South, Florida Championship Wrestling, now NXT. They often forgot about UPW as well. I mean, there's so many different developmental territories that were used.
And Evolve now, right? Gabe's
Yes.
thing. ECW is probably the biggest one, of developmental where, I remember I was in the locker room with Dreamer. He's like, you want to hear no conspiracy? I was like, sure, man. He goes, that whole time Paulie got paid 10 million from them, and we still didn't get the fucking money. Like, they were floating us the whole time, and we didn't have a fucking clue in the locker room. But like, it like told me the whole thing, and I'm just like, so it's pretty much, now that they gave Danny 10 million, but he clocked in on his library. That was the smartest thing he ever did. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's an interesting thing too. It's both of us as owners of our own media companies and collecting a library, creating a library through years of work and great staff and co-hosts and interviews. I watched that Bill Burr and Joe Rogan, and they said it's far better to have 20,000 loyal followers who will pay directly to you than it is to have 1 to 2 million, 100, well, maybe 100 million, but that many who go to pay the corporation, the Hollywood studio to see you. It's far better, more rewarding, and more lucrative to have a smaller diehard circle. So and own your own stuff, because you don't own any of that when you just go and show up for a role, So like Batista has any claim to Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Not that he didn't like the paycheck and the notoriety and it helped make him, but there's a difference between why Joe Rogan, when he sells for $50 million, because he owns it all, So it's an interesting time, and this anybody who's got a great library. I think about 2CW, one of the best companies I worked for in the Indies that is coming back this fall for some reunion stuff, but their library alone of who they've got on there, who started there, who shined the most there, from Kevin Owens, Brody Lee, the Young Bucks, like these tape libraries that are, worth a lot of money, and I remember when Danny sold his, maybe he'll tell us the price, but it's it's 7 figures, you know what I mean? So it's no joke. Yeah, having that John Cena's first match and fucking Batista's first match and Shelton Benjamin, all these guys, but Bobby Lashley, The Big Show, Mark Henry, Serena, whoever, like all that, So there's a lot of ins and outs that come with owning a developmental or owning a media company, I guess, at the same time, because that has to be part of the developmental system. So yeah, man, but it is college. It's living the lifestyle. It's the commitment. So OVW is interesting because, and I can't speak to IWA, HWA and how they were set up, but I don't think Deep South had a amateur class and sign guys class. I think it was just contract. No, because Hannibal was unsigned, right?
Unsigned, yeah.
Okay, so they did. So they had the same setup then. So there's this weird, and some guys are cool and they don't put it over, but like there's the unsigned guys, the unmentionables, and then there's the fucking we're over guys, right? So that's a big thing in how the politics are played, how you get to the catering to even eat, and they're just, all that is set up to get you ready to deal with getting effed with when you get to the main roster by top guys, and paying your dues and knowing where you are on the mafia pecking order and all that kind of stuff. And then working hard and showing that you want it to the point of getting offered the contract, like a JTG, like Santino Marella, like Serena, like Rick Victor, a lot of people that I came through with there, and or coming back down off the road and sticking around and sticking it through and showing that you want it, and then you get re-signed like a Ryback, So but they bring him up as Skip Sheffield. You're like, come the fuck on,
Yep.
So there's a lot of different ups and downs on the roller coaster, but when we all come together and we all put on a show and we all set up the ring together, like you listen to on PW 101, you build that bond, because those who are in the have-nots, are working their ass off in the intermediate class or the beginners class and paying their dues to try and learn this shit, while being able to be one step away from WWE. I mean, the Creed song, "My Sacrifice," right? What are you going to sacrifice? Are you going to pack up the truck and move to Beverly Hills? That is, are you going to go to Louisville, Kentucky and move to OVW and live in a shitty apartment and have the best damn time of your life being a dirty wrestler and living with the boys and, and going down to 4th Street? And if you have that freedom to do that without having, I mean, some guys move there with kids and a family too to chase it. I'm not going to say they don't. I did it twice. I did the same thing and moved to Chicago to go study at Improv Olympic in Second City. And then like the idiot, the idiot that I am, I packed up and moved to OVW to do it all over again. And it hurt a lot worse, but that's the addiction to the spotlight and the performance buzz that only can be really fed, nurtured, and taught and experienced by working for TV, learning how to work for TV at OVW, going on the loop 2, 3, 4, 5 shows sometimes a week during the summer, and then training with Rip and maybe Nick Dinsmore, or Rip and Joey Mercury, or Rip and Al if you're lucky enough to be invited up to the top class with contract guys, because now you're putting guys in there and that can get you heat because some contract guy doesn't like you. And they're like, why is this guy training with us? If he hurts one of us, we're fucked. Like, you just put a non-contract guy, like, it's dangerous. But then there's guys like a Jamin Olivencia who definitely should have had a contract and wasn't given that, but he was so good, they're putting the TV title on him, not just because of storyline flukes, because he does get, and they put the tag titles on him, it was actually, and over contract guys, because those guys thought they were over. You know what I mean? They thought they were stars already, and they fucking put them over on them. So there's all these lessons to be learned. And even Man Beast was a TV champion because his was in storyline, but because of it. So there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes that the boys are having fun, but is always a liability, because at the end of the day, they're trying to get to WWE and they'll cut their best friend's throat in order to get that, man. And some guys who I have tons and tons of respect for, like an Aaron Stevens, I'll name drop him from the A Show, patreon.com/the A Show with April Hunter. We were all there together. Both of them are Killer Kowalski trained before they even came to OVW. So, they're bad as fuck. They're going to be top people. Dude, I remember when he was up on the road first early on when he was young with Casey James, Cadillac. Yeah. And dude, Casey's,
he was great. Yeah.
Dude, second coming of Mr. Perfect. You think like Dolph Ziggler's awesome. Casey James just got it, bro. And another guy like never got the huge shiny.
Little Bobby Eaton in him too.
Oh, absolutely, Bobby Eaton and Perfect. That's exactly who he was. But dude, I remember when they came back down, they had Idol so wired up, bro. It was almost like he was having panic attacks just sitting there because of being such a nice guy, I think, and like that pressure. To perform, and like they got their eyes on you as the next young prize, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot. Now, obviously, with his role in NWA movies and after Damian Sandow, I think he figured it out. but that's my point is that's the pressure it can have on a young performer like that who's not ready to get the knives out. You know what I mean?
Yep. So we're talking about developmental, and we're saying on the show we're going to interview executives, wrestlers, trainers, managers, talent, all the people, referees, all the people that came through, and we're kind of saying what developmental is. It's the feeder league, it's the get you ready league, it's the farm club. But why? Why is there developmental?
Well, you have to get reps in, 10,000 hour rule, and one thing that even Triple H wanted with developmental was to have it like a circuit where you go work in different territories, because you have to get used to working in front of crowds, but working in front of Louisville is a hell of a lot different than working in front of Syracuse.
Right.
And they didn't really have anybody up north. Everything kind of went south. Louisville, Dirty South was in, where was it?
Georgia, wasn't it?
Georgia. Yeah. And, but it It wasn't like in Atlanta though. I just can't.
I forget the name of the town because I was just talking to Nick Patrick, but it's a weird town. Yeah.
Yeah, it stumped me. And now in Florida's a different crowd. It's a little more like New York because a lot of people transplanted there, but it's still kind of funny, weird gimmicks that are like Southern to me a little bit. So, it really is WWE people working in a Southern style, which they want bigger characters. Not that up north doesn't, but up north wants quick, sharp tongues and fucking, F me, no F you, like that kind of feeling. So that they're just getting reps in, man. 10,000 hour rule, just like you said. If it's a minor league baseball player, you don't want to blow a guy's arm out, and a lot of guys do get hurt. That's a problem,
Yep.
But that's usually when they actually slow the frig down and learn how to work, when they got to work around an injury. Unfortunately, that's there's only one way to learn, the hard way. And this sport that we do is not kind on any part of your body, skeletal or muscular or tendon wise, any of that shit, and discs, all that stuff is just always blown out, where as a pitcher you might just have ankle and shoulder problems, so that's really the main thing, is how you're going to learn how to slow down, work in front of a crowd, work for the cameras on TV. That's a huge part of it. I watch AEW and they signed so many guys from the indies, and they wanted the young talent, but they don't even know how to position in ring for a pin properly for the camera. Where at OVW and Dirty South and I don't know, and FCW, I'm sure, I know, and NXT, that's how it's trained. It just becomes second nature of when I do something, knowing where the camera is to get them to that point on the snapmare the right way to hook in the chin lock, so the floor cam doesn't have to come around and get the setup while the hard cam's got a shot of my back. Vince McMahon would say, this is where your money is. I've heard this 1,000 times at OVW, right? So it's in the cell. Nobody gives a shit if your back is turned and we see, yeah, your back's jacked, great, and maybe a girl likes your butt, whatever. Maybe a guy likes your butt, whatever. But fucking, we want to see the reaction. You're not giving us that, so we train that naturally. And when you see Serena Deeb wrestle, it's apparent. You know what I mean? The difference in how you watch her set up her finisher from when she just fought Rio on that pre-show. Like, Rio's laid out perfectly horizontal so she can get the knee bash on the Tequila Sunrise before she hooks it in, and is looking right at the camera when she does. So Rio can turn her face and show agony. The fans can see the hold and how it's applied, and Serena looks strong, looking straight forward. That's not, she's like, Rio doesn't know how to do that, like, that's Serena putting her in the right place to have everything do that. And that's why there's a difference in how developmental workers learn and are made for WWE, as opposed to your independent wrestler who's used to, he might be very good at controlling the live crowd. Your independent wrestler might be better at controlling the live crowd than your factory wrestler is, who knows how to work for TV. Like, there's different things we have to learn, but we're always playing in a 360 audience. So we want to have everybody get a little piece all the way around. TV, you might not be working for that. You're working for the shot. So you have to know how to do both, because you're going on the road house show wise and doing things that you wouldn't normally do. Boo yay spots in the beginning of a match for 2 or 3 minutes, and you got them because it's a bunch of little kids and they just want to scream and cheer the bad guy, or cheer the good guy and boo the bad guy. You never do that on TV, because you have to hit times, because you have 4 minutes plus entrance for 90 seconds. Then we're going to commercial, come back, you got 90 seconds to take it home. Boom. And then you get out there and the ref goes, you've got 2 minutes, and then we're just going to commercial and you guys are done. Okay. Now we got to do that. Like, in a house show, you want to hit your times, like, depending on what they're telling you. But if we got 20 minutes or even 10 minutes and 5 of that's boo yay, we already got them. Now we can do next to nothing. We don't have to call nothing in the back. You slam me one time after we have a big fight, and everyone's going to go nuts. And we gave the people there what they wanted. On TV, that's going to suck, You know, nobody sitting at home wants to see 5 minutes of booyah from the crowd. They did it a lot with Stone Cold in a new way, but you know, that made you want to come to the house shows and really see it, you know.
Yep.
But on those house shows, all Stone Cold had to do was come down and pop a beer and F you to somebody, and the place is on their feet. You don't have to wrestle no match. Boom, one stunner, and bang, hit them. Even hit the ref. Take out whoever, you know what I mean? And that's all she wrote. So there's a difference in what a live guy might do all the time who comes from the indies and you know, might have great offense and all this stuff, but they don't know how to really make it look great on camera and how to set up their shots. So developmental, you know, with tape review, dude, if they had a bad show where they didn't do Al's business and guys weren't listening and went into business for themselves, a 1 hour OVW show I've seen turn into a 5-6 hour tape review of like breakdown the next day. And there might be a little punishment in that, but usually it's a 2 to 3 hour tape review of every little thing of how was the business done here? Why is it wrong that the heel is too beat down right here? Why the baby face should fire up here? Why did you do this? You didn't need that in the match. Or, you know, the heel or the baby's getting heat on the heel. Like all these amateur mistakes that get corrected and you get ironed out there. You show up there either as an unmolded lump of clay or kind of an indie guy that it needs to be ironed out and has some skill and knowledge already, you know, or you're one of these signed athletes who has no idea about wrestling and you're about to become a factory property because you look great. You have all the skills they want. Who was the one big bastard before Matt Morgan? He was on Tough Enough.
Dan Rodimer?
Dan Rodheimer, right?
Rodheimer, yeah.
Right when I first got there, I was like, damn, look at this blue chip guy. But, you know, what did he really know a ton about, you know, what was going on? And the guys who are sharp. Politics. Yeah, the guys who don't know and like they're going to get eaten up, man. Don't matter how big it is. There's guys who are great dudes who could play politics, who were top draws there. Jacob Duncan should have been the next Kane or Undertaker. And I think you saw him once on WWE TV on SmackDown during that time when Idol and KC were together, dude. So there's things that die on the vine there. And Jacob Duncan and Beth Phoenix had a great story in OVW together. So even if it never makes it to WWE, sometimes you get to do your most fun stuff in developmental because you get to try things that are strange and they can matter because you want them to get over. But sometimes, you know, and that's Al Snow too, getting to be like, here are the toys I have to play with. How can I highlight them the best way possible together, you know? So, and he would come up with some great stuff, but that's all we had was each other. So your business was so important to you and you wanted to make the most out of it at every chance to get a chance to do more. You know, if you could show Al and Danny that you could do the business that they would get down on paper and you weren't worried about getting yourself over, they're excited to do more because you're getting it and they're not spending time correcting your bullshit ego mistakes, you know? So,
yep. So basically, what do you think is like the real need from a WWE perspective? What is the real need for developmental? Is it just
I feel like I've danced around your question like every time. What's the real need? You know,
but no, like let's say, okay, they just don't trust the guys coming in from the indies. They don't like what they're seeing, or they want to break them of the bad habits, make them into their own habits, and make sure that they're doing the right thing. Because I've seen some backstage stuff with Triple H on the network, a part of that Breaking Ground show and stuff. And he was even saying like Finn Balor wasn't looking the right way when he was coming out. Dude, you got to look this way. You got to do this. This is the, like, he was even breaking it down to that. So, I mean, is this bad stuff that they need to be broken up, or is it stuff they just don't know that they need to be learning? Okay, what's the real need for developmental?
Yeah, Finn Balor gets over because he's sexy and muscular and fucking European and, you know, like the whole nine. But he doesn't have a movie studio built around him that WWE is. You can't come out on a movie where they have the mark on the floor and walk over there because you're just over and you fucking walk over there. You didn't know that about me, bro? Like, right. So no, Dick, like, I'm not calling it Dick, but like, no, you have to fucking go to that spot, stop for 2 seconds. This is where we need the shot. I know it might feel weird to you, but trust me, it looks right on camera. Of how we're trying to portray you in the best way possible. When you walk over there, you look small because I have to shoot you from far away. Here, I get to shoot you up of where it is. Well, follow me, and good dudes will, find the camera and know what they need to do. And
he's not used to that, right?
He hasn't been trained to be a director in his mind of his own stuff. How to hit, like, they love the Randy Orton beauty pose, so everybody gets a Randy Orton beauty pose. They love the one-liner, so everybody's got a catchphrase one-liner. If it made money once, it'll make money 1,000 times until it doesn't, because then we just become cookie cutter. We do need a catalyst of somebody that's seems off base, but even a guy like Brian Pillman knew, where the things were to play to it the right way to get the shot that way. So, and that's from years of working on TV and working with professionals who know it too. That he didn't come through a farm system and and learn that was made later. But it's a lot of reasons to answer your question. It is to break someone, to see if you can be remolded, and if you're willing to bend your will to say, I'll do it your way. However you want me to do it, please teach me. Or you're like, dude, I've been doing this shit for so long, I don't need to fucking know. Like, okay, welcome to playing the game, dude. And I've seen both happen. And then the factory system dudes, it takes them longer to get it because they usually don't have a passion of like being a performer, like an indie guy is who's chasing it, or somebody who came on their own dime, or someone who's come up and really gets it from another school that might show up there, like Lady Sojo and them came from Eddie Sharkey's school. And APOC was the last, whatever I call him, Rick Victor was the last guy trained in the dungeon with TJ. Like they were the last two. So there's people who are showing up with pretty good knowledge already. You know what I mean? And if you show up with an attitude, or like you can't tell me nothing, fucking wait till I get my money right. But you're not going to get your money right because they're going to bury you. Like that's how it is. So there's a lot of different ways to like show that we got to humble this person, or this person's good and humble already and they're knowledgeable. Now let's develop them into a coach at the same time. You know what I mean? And put them with somebody who's rotten and they can lead them, and it's going to be safe. And we know this person with that person. So there's a lot of different reasons to have it set up that way, but it's mainly to get reps in for your talent live, for TV, for big shows where they send WWE guys down to work with you. Because believe me, whoever came down to work with us, as soon as they get back up on the road, the top guy they're working with, and if it was Benoit and Mike Cruel, they were asking Benoit, like, how is he? Da, 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 you know what I mean? Who knows what he said, but
right.
And like there's all these little things that are going on with that all the time that are tests to bring guys up. And right now we're seeing it with massive layoffs at WWE of big contract people who kind of misuse social media and think that they're over. You know what I'm talking about? How I just said all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
yep.
It's not like it hasn't changed. It's just they didn't learn these. What they came through NXT, where these cutthroat lessons are not the same as what they were in FCW, even, really, to be honest with you, but really OVW and Dirty South. So now I heard that Nick Khan and the coaching staff, which is probably sitting on one ass cheek too, and others are down there scouting who are we going to bring up. So Finn Balor's coming back up with their offering these new 360 deals, kind of that are in the music industry, where they get a cut of anything third party you do, even in the future. Fucking, they get you are gonna get less money than you would have before on the road, but it's still going to be more than what you're making now. So you're scab. That's the way they'll frame it, but it's really a scab contract, and those who don't accept it with a smile will then have heat, because others will accept it and they'll just make an example out of somebody, be like, oh, you don't want it? Then fine. Then we'll give it to them. And you'll still be in NXT until maybe you get caught. They'll let you sweat it out. So there's like all this unsaid, oh, I could be on the road, but now it's not what I knew they were making. It's going to be half of that with more pressure. And if I don't sign, then I may never make it on the road. That's what's going on there right now. That's the pressure they're putting on them silently to sign lesser, worse contracts with lesser downside in case they want to take you off the road like that. So, and I don't blame them, because they're a corporate company that is cold-blooded. As much as you want to believe that corporations are people, they are not. And it's about bottom line and dollars, plus in this carny ass industry, payback for everything that they've been holding animosity on you for getting caught with needles on your bathroom fucking countertop to, I'm surprised pig funerals didn't get somebody fired this week, to be honest with you, bro.
I was thinking the same thing, because I heard, because they missed a show, that they had some heat. They might be in trouble for missing a show, for having that whole, basically unacceptable to them that you're having a funeral for pig, Instagram, and making a whole thing.
Nobody in OVW during contract days would even have dreamed of fucking acting like that when they get on the road, bro.
Right.
Even if we had social media, you there's no way that you would go in and bury your business like that. Danny would fucking cut your throat, and Al would hand him the knife to do it, shaking his head like, I tried, kid. and Rip wouldn't even be at the show going, I don't watch that fucking shit. So there's a lot, not just in corporate cutting, that they'll put of like, oh, we're taking out bigger contracts, and they'll blame it on some corporate thing, like when they fire anybody. But a bunch of those, and maybe more to come, are specifically to get back at people that didn't protect the business and investment that they fucking put in them. And they're willing to do that while they're going back on the road to cut a Braun Strowman. I mean, there's speculation of Keith Lee. Those are money draws for little kids when you're going back on the road. Like, that's a spectacle. You can't teach that. All you got to do is march them out, and little kids, ooh and ah, right? If you're going to make that move now beforehand, that's a very vindictive comeback gotcha move. You know what I mean? Before that hurts your bottom line as a company more than keeping them on staff and doing that for the next 90 days. Like, I'm like, that really exposes the truth. And if people don't think it's that way, well, then maybe I'm wrong, I guess.
So just going back to developmental, I was talking to Dr. Tom. Talking to Dr. Tom, I know we got way off the subject, but talking to Dr. Tom about it, and he was basically saying Vince came to him and said, we need a training program because WCW has the power plan. Yes, he's gotten guys from the territories before in ECW, but he said he wants his own guys that they could groom. So that was kind of the thought, or the first process, was Vince saying it to Dr. Tom, well, what could we do here? And then even Candido was even considered to be a trainer, way too young to be a trainer at that point, but was considered.
I don't know. Maybe not.
But to me, anyway, too young, because I feel like he was still in his prime. But so Dr. Tom's going to spearhead it. You get Akam Albright, the power lifter, the bodybuilder. You get the power lifter and Mark Henry. You get the blue chipper and the Rock, and you're off to the races. Then JR gets involved. They bring in Dory Funk. They do the Funkin' Dojo. But that's kind of like how it started, really. To me, the start of developmental was that. You had the feeder leagues and ECW and stuff. But that's the start, to me, of developmental, is when Vince says, hey, take out the power plant. We got to have our own shit. We got to do our own thing. We need to create our own guys. And I don't like that Southern style. I want them to learn this style. I want Dr. Tom, your style, or, whatever. Like, there's a certain protocol that Vince wanted out of his guys.
Absolutely that. And especially the people you just named with Mark Henry and the Rock in there. He didn't want them to go as green as they were to go get reps in someplace else. That's the unmolded piece of clay that has pro athlete discipline, the genetics of the father being a pro wrestler and being around the business. Now, how do you shape that the right way? You know what I mean? So just saying, go out there and train with this guy and then go work the indies here and we'll sign you and keep going. That's a dangerous way to not protect your property. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm not trying to call those guys property. That's a bad word, I guess, of the way to do it. Your
That's what Vince
investment.
probably calls them.
Yeah. He's my property.
Yeah, your property of the World Wrestling Federation.
I
Wow,
mean,
yeah.
you could definitely draw some correlations there, but that's a different show. But that's how you protect your investment into a top athlete that you're trying to groom and get your money back off of, which those guys, every cent that he put into him, he made, 100 times over off of them. And, they've lived an incredible life and are still living an incredible life based off of it.
Yeah.
So, that's really what it is, dude. You don't buy like a Kentucky Derby racehorse and have them go plow the fields. You know what I mean? You really, those horses live better lives than you and I do. Some of them, they got their own doctor that gives them a hand job every day for $1 million a fucking year and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
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 So, and they got their own, like one horse has a whole, hundreds of acres by itself to do whatever it wants on. But that's, you wouldn't strap that horse up and be like, no, go plow the field, So, not that I want to compare these guys to that, but that's what they're not babied like that either. They're learning the craft. You're making a college before there really is a big setup and there's TV for them to get trained on and all that kind of stuff. You want to put veteran minds behind them so they learn the fundamentals properly at the base level, so you don't have to retrain them later. And once you got those guys going, you're like, this project is working and I like that. You can start tweaking it and fine tuning things in the way you train guys. And then now we're off to the races with a whole curriculum, right?
Yep. To me, as far as developmental, as we're wrapping it up, just like baseball, let's say, you see a scout, could be Jerry Briscoe, wherever, but even in baseball, go down to Puerto Rico, you see Albert Pujols. Okay, let's get him in the farm system. Let's develop him. Let's bring him up to the majors, and he's going to make money for us for a long time. And he was good for, I think, 13 years for the Cardinals. So he made money for them for 13 years, and they won a title, and they were great. So I feel like the same exact thing is developmental. It's like a baseball farm system. You get the scout, you get the guy, you bring him in, you put him under the small deal, then you bring him up the ladder, and then he starts making you money, and then he starts making the money.
Absolutely. And some guys that you think are going to be your next McGuire or Bonds because of the way they look end up not being the ones that really get it, want it, or have the passion for it. So it's also a good way to I don't want to call anybody like the weeds, but fucking, like take people out who, you look great, but we got 4 other guys with long, greasy, dark hair who look like Seth Rollins. We don't need,
Right.
these 3 dudes. And maybe one of them would have stood out, than this, that, or the other. But you're testing the waters because you never know. You don't want to be the guy who goes, fuck, I missed out on Stone Cold Steve Austin when I had him. If only I would have thought of that. Like, so you want to be able to spot talent from that and not just to bring up, but also to be like, all right, we'll see how well he does. We'll give him a shot. And if it doesn't work out, then we won't. Like, that's the loss on the investment that you're going to make when you find the next rock. The ends justifies the means in having 5 guys that don't make it for the one that is going to be the star. But once Randy Orton got over, it kind of became a cookie cutter thing for a while. And a lot of the passion went out of it. I mean, when FCW came up, like, everybody kind of got like a gay porn name and had to change their look. And it was like all a test in like this weird thing, like of stuff that you knew would never stick on the road. Like, so why are you doing this? And it became a very cookie cutter factory wrestling system, which NXT has gotten away from a fair amount. Now it's very, because multiculturalism is very important in today's society, but also the influence of New Japan to the UK, where, tapping into these micro markets. So a lot that has a lot to do with who gets signed, as well, where when I first got to OVW, it was like, look at that big son of a bitch, somebody walk in and you're like, oh, fuck, he's signed. So and if you weren't, you had to get over with character. Santino Morella, not a huge dude, but can steal the show on you. There's no doubt about that. But absolutely, it's like the baseball farm system, and some guys never make it to the majors out of AAA, man, and they still have a great life and great career. There really wasn't the money to live and thrive there, but how long are they letting people stay in the minor leagues in baseball, I guess is my question. Can you have a 10-year career in the minors, or are you just gone too? Kind of like, so if you're just developmental, you need to, do your time and either make it, or then you have to go out on your own and ply your craft and learn your hustle. And that's something we'll talk about, because I know a lot of people who get trapped in that bubble of making no money, hoping to get signed, instead of going, I have the college education, now I have to go out and apply it on the road and make my money and increase my value. Because I know that but they don't know this because they haven't gone out and done it. They don't go out and apply their craft because they think everybody's an indie goof, and that, but when they're on the show and their segment's shining, it's for a reason, because they're trained at just a higher level, and you can see and feel the difference between that and some dudes who are just kind of learning in their backyard on a trampoline, who have the passion and some gear that they got made by High Spots and pleather and fucking, and now they're out there doing it. Can those guys get over? Are they nice dudes? Do they have the passion? Absolutely. That's what the Young Bucks were. That's what Matt and Jeff Hardy were, right? But, there's a difference in how, somebody who's been trained for TV, does character, knows how to work the crowd, and knows how to do times and hit times and where to listen to the crowd and how to bring them along. There's no replacement for that. And you will shine more on the indies, and you can get your price because you're going to get over. I mean, try and get involved in a long-term storyline, show how to do long-term business. A lot of that will never be known on the indies because there's no TV to back it up, where it's episodic weekly and how you got to act, react, do backstage pre-tapes. I mean, how many of your favorite indies guys cut promos, billboard in the next show, and you're like, oof.
Not good. Yep.
Not good. But usually everybody who would come out of OVW, especially hopefully during my time there, would be able to talk somebody into the building to come see their match, or billboard the show the right way with their character, where you're going, wow, that's intriguing. Like, that guy should be on WWE. That's what we get. You should be on WWE or Impact. You're awesome. Like, yeah, no shit.
Right.
Well, welcome to wrestling, man. So doesn't mean you can't go out and do your craft at the highest level after you've trained that. You just need to know what that value is of, you chase your dream and now you need to go apply it because it's not working for you there. It's time to switch your mode to get signed and get noticed. Well, go make a buzz around the world and put the miles in some more. Or you had your fun and now it's time to go do 2.2 kids in a house and all that kind of shit. If that's what you want to do, there's plenty of love in that too. I'm not trying to disparage it, but it's just how sick you are with the addiction to this shit, I guess.
So that'll be it for the first episode of Developmental, but we have many, many more to go, including, like we said, we're going to bring on some of your favorites, maybe a Mike Mondo, maybe a Man Beast. I mean, there's the 1,000,001 guys.
You get Rip, maybe probably get Al,
Rip. Yeah,
for sure.
There's a ton of guys that we could definitely get on and talk to. I mean, it's just endless and talk about their time in developmental. Chris Pavone would be another good one.
Oh,
yeah. Who was Kalen Crawford? I mean, there's so many good ones out there.
I was on the roster with him for 2-3 years, man. Great guy.
Yep. Dr. Tom would be another good one. I mean, Sullivan, if we want to even talk about the WCW aspect and go through the power plant stuff, would be great too. But I think that's just, next week and beyond. Definitely want to talk about your time individually in OVW, because that's got to be a whirlwind. That could be a whole series in and of itself. But definitely loving the thought. We, like you said, it was even prior than a month ago, we were talking about doing it and like how do you want to do it, how you want to set it up, and kind of sent you over like a little one sheet, and you're just like, yeah, that looks great, and let's do it. And obviously, you got the knowledge, you got the experience,
well,
you
have plenty of knowledge. Like when you were calling back on who the first guys were from Mark Henry, and who was the other guy you said with the European?
Packham Albright. That's the Brackus.
Yeah,
as Vince
Brackus,
used to
yeah,
call him, the Brackus. Yes.
right. And he was from the Hart family that had found him too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that, like, you've got plenty of knowledge because my CTE ass was just like, what I might have to watch some old DVDs so I remember, but it is a fun like flashback down memory lane to me because it's been a long time since I've talked about these times, so I'm really looking forward to the nostalgia and hopefully anything I can do to pass on information. There's a lot of great wrestling schools out there right now. It's a different time than 2006 when it was really important to go to OVW or try and get in an FCW later if you could. Now there's every place you can go, like OVW, like Monster Factory, like Dudley's, like Booker T's, Dustin's, Nightmare Factory. If it's how much do you want it? And I think for the wrestler that's coming up now, if you are willing to live in your car for the summer and you are willing to drive and go pursue your dreams. Right now, I know Blake Troop, bulletproof Blake Troop, busting his ass, left California. He's working with NWA. He's got Aaron Stevens as his one of his mentors. And he went to Florida for 2 months to go train with Chris Silvio at Matt Seidel's Side Dojo to learn this stuff because he's an MMA fighter and he wants to be signed and take it seriously. And that's true if you're an MMA fighter. There's so many great gyms. You can become a journeyman, wrestler right now in your training if you map it out and you got your savings up. Hopefully you saved your stimulus money and got yourself a pair of boots. And if you really want to pursue this dream, there's a really unique opportunity right now to go learn from a lot of Gangrel, Sin Bodie. I got to put those guys over in Vegas. I would take the trip to Matt Yaden's Rocky Mountain Pro. I would get a hold of Gabe for Evolve. ROH, you can go train with Cheeseburger and those guys. There's New Japan America, I think even might be doing something. So it's about building contacts in this business too. That's a huge part of it. And if you can show up and not act like you're over and be humble and set up all their rings, clean all their mats, make sure everything's put away and show respect. Geez, I think in a year's time, if you really invested in yourself, you would have a hell of an education driving up and down the road, listening to Two Man Power Trip podcast, listening to Hameen Media Group, listening to Russo Brand, taking that information in, listening to Cornette, listening to everybody, man, and fucking building up that equity. I mean, if you want to chase this shit, that's how I would do it in 2021. It's gonna take some real diehard sacrifice, but are you gonna be the one? So when they're telling your story in the recap and post, and you say I went here, and here, no one can take that away from you. It's about the journey.
So as far as some plugs, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. Of course, patreon.com/tmptempire. And head over to TeePublic. Check out Two Man Power Trip. Got some cool shirts and whatnot on there. Ben, what do you got?
You can't get enough of me talking here. You can always go to cameo.com/Ben Amin and I'll do a promo right for you. I don't care. Cut down your ex-husband, tell your kids to clean the dog shit off the front lawn, whatever it is you want me to do. Or if you need a little meat, pal, yeah, I might be ready to go. So cameo.com/Ben Amin, trying to get that off the ground. We're working on Realm Network to have Hameen Media Group jump over there. But right now we've had great loyal listeners and followers. Patreon.com/Hameen Media Group. You're already listening to it here. It's bonus content, you guys. So we appreciate that. I don't know. I'm plugging to the people who sold already, but at Ben_Hameen on Twitter, at Hameen Media Group on Twitter, and Hacker Hameen on Instagram. Sometimes I post on there as well. But you guys are the loyal listeners, the faithful of all of our brand content. So thank you very much, and I'm excited to do this new series with you, JP. I've been having a good time with PW 101, and I think this is going to be great too, pal.
Awesome. Great stuff. And we'll see everybody right here next week for some more Developmental. See you then, folks.